Captain Ethan Vale's shuttle broke through the thin atmosphere of Xylaris, shaking slightly as the engines roared and the alien sky glowed with colors he had never seen. Below him stretched a vast landscape of glowing forests, jagged mountains, and rivers that shimmered like liquid crystals. The planet was beautiful, but dangerous. Every report from the Human Space Exploration Council had warned of Xylaris's hostile wildlife and unpredictable weather. Yet Ethan had faced worse, and his mission was clear: establish contact with the alien civilization that called this planet home. The landing site was a plateau overlooking the royal city of Lumeria, its towers gleaming under the pale twin moons. The city was alive with movement. Alien figures floated gracefully through the air, some with wings, some with multiple limbs, and all with skin that reflected the bioluminescent glow of their surroundings. This was no ordinary alien society. They were advanced, elegant, and proud. Ethan adjusted his uniform and checked the translator device on his wrist. He had trained for this moment for years, learning the customs, language patterns, and body language of the Xylari. But nothing could truly prepare him for meeting the princess herself, Lyra, heir to the throne, known throughout the galaxy for her sharp mind, commanding presence, and, unfortunately, sharp tongue. As he approached the city gates, he noticed the guards, tall, sleek beings with armor that seemed part of their bodies, eyes like liquid silver scanning him carefully. One stepped forward and gestured. "Captain Ethan Vale, welcome to Lumeria. Princess Lyra awaits your arrival." Ethan nodded. "Thank you. Please convey my respects to her." The gate opened, and Ethan stepped into the city. The streets were filled with alien technology interwoven with natural beauty. Transparent bridges connected towers that glowed from within. Floating gardens hovered above the ground. The air was filled with the scent of alien flowers, sweet and strange, and the soft hum of energy fields. Finally, he arrived at the palace, a structure of crystalline spires and shimmering walls. A crowd had gathered in the grand courtyard. At the center stood Princess Lyra herself. Her presence was commanding. She had the posture of someone born to lead, with eyes that seemed to look right through him. Her laughter was soft but sharp, like crystal breaking, and it carried across the courtyard. "Ah," Lyra said, her voice echoing slightly. "The human explorer finally arrives." She tilted her head, studying him. "I must admit, I did not expect humans to travel this far. You are smaller than I imagined." Her lips curved into a teasing smile. "But perhaps smallness is not weakness." Ethan bowed slightly. "Princess Lyra, it is an honor to meet you. I come in peace, representing humanity." Lyra's smile widened, but her eyes sparkled with mischief. "Peace is a fragile thing, Captain. But tell me, do humans have courage? Or do you rely on numbers and weapons to survive?" Before Ethan could answer, she clapped her hands lightly. A screen floated above the courtyard, showing a map of the Shadow Vale, a dark, misty valley on the outskirts of the city. The crowd murmured. "The Vale is dangerous," Lyra said. "Many of my people dare not enter. Some say no one survives the night there." She glanced at Ethan, her smile sharp. "But perhaps a human can try. If he survives the night, he owns my respect forever." The crowd gasped. Some laughed, thinking it a joke. Others whispered warnings about the dangers of the Vale. Ethan felt a chill, but he remained composed. He understood the meaning behind the challenge. It was more than a test of strength. It was a test of character, of ingenuity, of resilience. "Except," Ethan said calmly. The words surprised some of the Xylari, but Lyra's eyes widened, showing genuine interest. "Very well," she said. "You will depart at sunset. Remember, this is no ordinary night. The Vale has creatures that can tear through steel and storms that can freeze a being alive in minutes. If you fail, well, failure is instructive." Her laughter echoed again, sharp and musical. Ethan spent the rest of the day preparing. He visited the market to acquire supplies suitable for the alien terrain. He studied maps and notes, paying close attention to the movements of wildlife, the location of safe shelters and the signs of sudden weather shifts. He observed Xylari hunters demonstrating their skills with strange energy-based weapons and adapted some of their techniques to his human tools. As sunset approached, the sky above Xylaris turned a brilliant orange, fading into deep purple. Ethan stood at the edge of the veil looking down into the misty expanse. Shadows moved below, shapes shifting in the pale glow. It was silent. Too silent. A low hum rose from the valley floor, the sound of alien life and energy mingling in ways he could not yet understand. He activated his survival pack, energy blade, multi-tool, light-emitting device, and translator device to communicate if needed. He adjusted the protective armor layered over his uniform and checked his breathing. His mind ran through every possible scenario he had prepared for, but he knew he could not anticipate everything. The veil was alive, and it would test him in ways he could not predict. A soft vibration alerted him to movement behind. Lyra appeared at the edge of the plateau, watching silently. "Do not think this is just a game, human," she said. "The veil does not forgive arrogance." Her eyes held a mix of challenge and curiosity. "But if you succeed, perhaps you will surprise me." Ethan nodded, appreciating the honesty. "I will do my best, Princess." With that, he stepped forward, the first human to enter the shadow veil in recorded history. The mist swallowed him almost instantly, and the world of the palace faded behind him. Every sound, every shadow, every movement became amplified. He had to rely on all his senses, on every ounce of human ingenuity he had learned, to survive. The first challenge came quickly. Strange, glowing plants reacted to his presence, releasing spores that could cause hallucinations. Ethan quickly analyzed the pattern, noting the timing and the density. He moved cautiously, using his multi-tool to disable the more dangerous spores, learning to read the subtle shifts in the alien flora. Then came the first predator, a large, six-legged creature with luminous eyes and teeth that glinted in the dim light. It moved like liquid, silent yet deadly. Ethan remembered his training. Do not panic, study the creature, exploit its weaknesses. He used a reflective panel to confuse it, diverting it long enough to slip past. His heart raced, but he kept his focus, noting every detail for future encounters. Hours passed. The veil was relentless. Strange storms formed suddenly, whipping the valley with icy winds. Ethan built makeshift shelters and used his energy blade to ward off aggressive creatures. He observed and learned, adapting quickly. His human resourcefulness shone in this alien environment, a reminder that survival often depended on mind over muscle. As the first night deepened, Ethan finally paused near a glowing river to rest. He reflected on Lyra's words. She had mocked humanity, doubting their courage and strength. But he understood now. The veil did not care about species, it cared about the will to survive. And humans had that in abundance. Far above, hidden in the cliffs, Lyra watched through advanced monitoring devices. Her amusement at his struggle began to fade, replaced by curiosity and something resembling admiration. This human was small, fragile by Xylari standards, yet he moved with intelligence and calm determination. He was learning, adapting, surviving. The night was long, and the dangers unending, but Ethan Vale, the human explorer, pressed forward step by step, proving that courage, intelligence, and perseverance could thrive even in the most alien and hostile of worlds. And far above, the princess, who had mocked him with laughter, began to wonder if perhaps, just perhaps, humans were more than she had imagined. The mist clung to Ethan Vale like a living thing, curling around his limbs, whispering with the sound of unseen creatures. The deeper he moved into the shadow veil, the darker and stranger it became. Alien flora glowed in muted blues and purples, lighting paths like faint stars scattered across the ground. Strange shapes flickered in the periphery of his vision, and every sound seemed magnified. The distant roar of an unseen predator, the rustle of leaves that were not leaves, and the soft hum of alien energy vibrating in the air. Ethan adjusted, his pack feeling the weight of the supplies he had brought. The energy blade hummed faintly against his side, and the light-emitting device cast a soft glow around him. He had been walking for hours, yet the veil seemed endless, stretching into shadows he could not comprehend. Every step required caution, every breath careful. Survival depended on both intelligence and instinct. The first serious test came when he reached a narrow canyon, its walls glowing faintly with crystalline growths. As he stepped forward, the ground beneath him trembled slightly. Ethan froze, analyzing the movement. Then, without warning, a predator burst from the shadows, a massive six-legged creature with translucent skin that allowed him to see its internal energy flows. Its eyes glowed like molten silver, and its movements were quick, fluid, precise. Ethan's training kicked in. He did not panic. He observed, noting the creature's patterns. Each time it lunged, it hesitated for a moment, a split-second opportunity. Using a reflective panel from his pack, he redirected a beam of light directly into its eyes. The creature recoiled, letting out a low growl that shook the canyon walls. Ethan used the distraction to slip past, moving slowly, deliberately, keeping his focus sharp. Once he was safely on the other side, Ethan crouched near a glowing fern to catch his breath. His pulse had quickened, but he felt alive in a way he hadn't in months. The veil was testing him. Not just his strength, but his intelligence, his calmness, his ability to think under pressure. And so far, he was passing. Hours turned into night, and the temperature dropped sharply. The veil was unpredictable, throwing storms that seemed almost alive. Rain fell in shimmering sheets of liquid light, and lightning, bright and alien, struck the crystal cliffs nearby. Ethan huddled under a naturally formed overhang, using his light-emitting device to warm himself and illuminate a small area. He studied the patterns of the storm, learning how to anticipate sudden flashes and gusts of wind. Humans had survived in harsh conditions before, he reminded himself, and adaptability was humanity's greatest strength. In the distance, he noticed movement, a flicker of light moving slowly along the riverbank. Cautious, Ethan approached, keeping low. There, a small creature lay injured. Its skin shimmered with faint luminescence, and its eyes reflected intelligence and fear. Many humans might have ignored it, but Ethan could not. Compassion, he thought, was also part of survival. He carefully approached, speaking softly through the translator device. "It's okay," he murmured. "I won't hurt you." The creature flinched at first, then, sensing no threat, allowed him to examine the wound. A broken limb and deep gashes suggested it had been attacked by one of the veil's predators. Ethan quickly fashioned a splint, using parts of his pack and a sturdy branch. He applied an alien healing gel he had acquired from a local market earlier, hoping it would stabilize the creature until he could find proper aid. By helping the creature, Ethan gained an unexpected ally. It rose slowly, unsteady but alert, and then moved alongside him, staying close. He gave it a name in his mind, Lumo, for the way it glowed softly in the darkness. Lumo proved useful almost immediately, sensing dangers before Ethan could detect them. Together, they moved deeper into the veil. Midnight brought the most dangerous challenge yet. A sudden chasm appeared in their path, wide and deep, its bottom lost in darkness. The ground on either side was unstable, littered with loose rocks and glowing plants that reacted violently to movement. Ethan studied the terrain carefully. A direct jump would be impossible. Instead, he noticed a series of crystalline growths forming a natural bridge. Testing each one with careful steps, he slowly crossed, Lumo following him closely. The crystals trembled but held, and they reached the other side safely, hearts pounding from the adrenaline of the near fall. The veil was relentless. Strange, winds carried scents that confused the senses, making it difficult to distinguish friend from foe. Shadows moved in ways that defied natural logic. Ethan learned to rely on his other senses, listening for subtle differences in sound, feeling vibrations through the ground, noticing shifts in temperature or light. Every skill, every instinct mattered here. Hours later, he found a small cavern for rest. It was dry and safe from the elements, a rare gift in the Veil. Ethan set up a simple camp using energy barriers to protect himself and Lumo. As he ate a small ration, he reflected on the day. Each challenge had pushed him beyond human limits, yet he had adapted and survived. His respect for the planet and its dangers grew, as did his awareness of the intelligence and resourcefulness that humans could display when faced with extreme circumstances. Unseen by him, Princess Lyra observed from a distance, her devices keeping her updated on his progress. At first, she had intended the challenge as a joke, a simple mockery of human fragility. But now, seeing Ethan navigate dangers with intelligence, courage, and compassion, she felt a stirring of admiration. This human was small and fragile. Yes, but his mind was sharp, his resolve unshakable. He survived not through brute strength alone, but through careful thought and unwavering focus. The night was far from over. Around 3 a.m., a sudden tremor shook the cavern. Ethan's instincts screamed at him to move. Through the cave entrance, he saw a shadow moving, a massive predator, one he had never seen before. Its 6 legs moved with terrifying speed, and its skin shimmered with an almost invisible camouflage. Ethan knew that direct confrontation was impossible. He needed to think. He quickly set traps using parts of his pack and debris from the cave. He lured the creature toward a narrow passage, using Lumo's glowing body as a decoy. The predator lunged, but the traps worked, slowing it enough for Ethan to slip past. He barely made it through, breathing hard but alive. The experience taught him that intelligence and adaptability could overcome raw power. By dawn, Ethan had traversed almost half of the Shadow Veil. The sun, or what passed for a sun on Xylaris, rose, casting strange light across the misty landscape. The Veil was still dangerous, but the first night had passed. He had survived predators, storms, strange terrain, and the unknown. His body was weary, but his mind remained sharp. Ethan paused at a cliff edge, looking back at the path he had crossed. Every step had been a lesson, every challenge a test. And though he knew the Veil still held dangers, he felt a surge of confidence. Humans were not the strongest species, not the fastest or the largest, but they had perseverance, intelligence, and heart. That was something even the Veil respected. High above, hidden in the cliffs, Lyra's eyes softened slightly as she watched him. Her initial mockery had faded, replaced by curiosity and something more complex: respect. The human had faced the impossible and endured. She had expected arrogance or failure, but she had found cleverness, courage, and compassion. For Ethan, the night had been terrifying and exhausting, but it had also been a revelation. He was a human in an alien world, small and fragile by local standards, yet capable of extraordinary feats. And as he prepared for the next day, he understood one truth clearly. Survival was not just about strength. It was about intelligence, empathy, and the will to move forward no matter the odds. And somewhere in the glowing forests of Xylaris, Princess Lyra began to wonder if perhaps she had underestimated the human species. The morning sun filtered through the bioluminescent canopy of the Shadow Veil, painting the mist in shades of violet and gold. Ethan Veil had survived his first night, but the dangers of the Veil were far from over. Each step forward brought new challenges, new unknowns. Yet for the first time he felt a quiet confidence. He had learned the rhythm of the Veil, the subtle hums of creatures, the shifts in temperature that signaled danger, the glow of plants that could hide predators or reveal safe paths. Beside him, Lumo moved gracefully, its luminescent skin pulsing softly. The small creature had become more than a companion. It was a guide, an early warning system, and a reminder that even in this alien land, kindness could forge unexpected bonds. Ethan's compassion had saved Lumo, and in return the creature's instincts now saved him countless times. Their path led to a dense grove, where the mist was thick and the air carried a faint electrical charge. Ethan paused, noticing strange symbols etched into the crystalline trees. They pulsed faintly with energy, almost as if alive. He touched one cautiously, feeling a vibration through his fingers. "These must be some form of natural signaling," he murmured, analyzing the pattern. Lumo sniffed the air and emitted a low hum, signaling caution. Suddenly, a shadow moved between the trees. Ethan's heart quickened. A massive predator, its skin a shifting mosaic of colors that blended perfectly with the environment, slithered silently toward them. Unlike the predators of the first night, this one was clever, calculating, and patient. Ethan crouched low, watching its movements. Direct confrontation would be suicide. He needed another solution. Ethan reached for his multi-tool and quickly assembled a makeshift decoy from reflective surfaces and glowing fungi. Lumo glowed brightly beside him, ready to act on his signal. As the predator lunged, Ethan triggered, the decoy redirecting its attention. The creature pounced on the false target, giving Ethan and Lumo just enough time to slip away through a narrow passage. The predator's frustration echoed through the trees, a sound that made even Ethan pause in respect. Hours later, as the sun climbed higher, the duo stumbled upon a river unlike any Ethan had seen. The water shimmered like liquid crystals, reflecting light in countless directions. Fish-like creatures swam beneath the surface, their bodies glowing softly, and the riverbank was dotted with plants that reacted to movement, closing and opening like shutters. Ethan approached cautiously, testing the ground. Suddenly, a low roar erupted from the other side of the river. Another predator, larger than the last, emerged from the shadows. It had multiple limbs, each ending in sharp claws, and its eyes glowed with an almost intelligent awareness. Ethan's first instinct was to run, but the river's slippery banks offered little chance. He had to think, and quickly. Using his knowledge of physics and observation, Ethan noticed the creature's reflection in the shimmering water. Its eyes, bright and luminous, were sensitive to sudden flashes of light. He activated a small energy emitter, creating bursts of light in a pattern designed to confuse the predator. For a moment, the creature paused, hesitant. Ethan seized the opportunity, moving across a series of rocks that jutted from the river. Lumo leaped alongside him, nimble and precise, and together they made it safely to the far bank. Exhausted but undeterred, Ethan realized something crucial. The veil was not just a test of strength or survival, it was a test of intelligence, adaptability, and moral choice. Each decision mattered. Every creature, every plant, every shifting shadow had its own rhythm and pattern. To succeed, he could not rely solely on instincts. He had to observe, understand, and respond. Later that day, Ethan found a small cave nestled in a cliffside, offering both shelter and vantage. As he rested, Lumo padded around him, scanning the surroundings with quiet alertness. Ethan studied maps of the Veil, noting dangerous zones, safe paths, and potential shelters. He reflected on the first night, the narrow escapes, the predators, and the storms. Each challenge had taught him something new, not just about the Veil, but about humanity's capacity for resourcefulness, courage, and compassion. Humans survive by thinking, he said softly, almost to himself. We adapt. We endure. We find a way. Lumo emitted a soft hum, as if acknowledging his words. That evening, Ethan faced a trial unlike any before. The mist thickened into a dense fog, and strange electrical storms crackled across the sky. The air itself seemed to hum with energy, and the ground beneath him vibrated. From the fog emerged a creature unlike any he had encountered, a massive, six-limbed being with translucent wings that shimmered like glass. Its movements were swift, precise, and eerily silent. Ethan's mind raced. Direct confrontation was impossible. He remembered the natural signals he had observed in the trees earlier. Perhaps the Veil itself could be an ally. Using Lumo's instincts and his observations, he guided the creature toward a grove of reactive plants. The plants responded instantly, creating barriers of light and energy that slowed the predator. Ethan and Lumo slipped past, hearts pounding, breathing heavy. By midnight, Ethan had reached a plateau overlooking the Veil. The view was both breathtaking and terrifying. The valley stretched endlessly, filled with shadows and glowing life. He felt a mixture of awe and exhaustion. His body was weary, but his mind remained sharp. Every encounter had reinforced the truth he already knew. Survival required intelligence, compassion, and courage. As he prepared to rest, Ethan reflected on Lumo's role in his survival. Without the creature's guidance, many dangers would have been fatal. Helping Lumo had not just been an act of kindness, it had been a strategic advantage. In this alien world, empathy and cooperation were as valuable as strength or speed. Meanwhile, high above in the cliffs, Princess Lyra observed the human with growing fascination. Her amusement at his struggle had turned into admiration. He moved not with brute force but with intelligence, observation, and patience. He adapted to every challenge, treated other creatures with respect, and never gave in to fear or despair. Lyra realized that humans, though small and fragile, possessed qualities that even her most advanced advisors sometimes lacked: ingenuity, resilience, and moral strength. Her curiosity grew. She had intended the challenge as a simple mockery, a game to amuse herself in her court. Yet now, watching Ethan navigate the veil with skill and determination, she felt a strange respect forming. Perhaps this human was exceptional. Perhaps humanity itself was not to be underestimated. As dawn approached, Ethan prepared for the next phase of his journey. The veil had tested his body, mind, and spirit. He had survived predators, storms, and treacherous terrain. He had formed a bond with Lumo, an unexpected ally who had taught him the value of trust and cooperation in an alien environment. Ethan's thoughts drifted to the princess. He had faced her mockery with composure, accepted her challenge without hesitation, and survived. Yet he knew the veil held more trials, more dangers. The first night had been a test, but the journey was far from over. He needed to remain alert, adaptable, and focused. The sun rose fully, casting golden light across the misty valley. Ethan and Lumo moved forward, cautious but confident. Every challenge had made him stronger. Every danger had honed his instincts. The shadow veil was formidable, but he was determined to succeed, not just to survive but to prove that humanity's courage, intelligence, and compassion could endure even the harshest trials. Far above, Princess Lyra watched, her expression unreadable. Yet deep inside, a change had begun. The mockery, the laughter, and the doubt were fading. In their place grew respect and curiosity. This human had faced the impossible and endured. Perhaps, she thought, humans were more than she had imagined. And so, the journey continued. Ethan Vale, human explorer, small and fragile by Xylari standards, moved deeper into the shadow veil step by step, challenge by challenge. With Lumo at his side, he would face whatever the veil threw at him, proving that survival was not about size or strength alone, but about intelligence, courage, and heart. The night was far from over, but Ethan's spirit burned bright. In the darkest corners of the veil, he had already begun to shine. The shadow veil had tested Ethan Vale in ways he had never imagined, but the dangers of Xylaris were not limited to its forests and cliffs. As he emerged from the veil at dawn, exhausted but alive, he found himself back at the gates of Lumeria, the royal city gleaming under the twin suns. Word of his survival had already spread. The court, which had laughed at the idea of a human surviving the veil, now whispered in awe. Some were genuinely impressed. Others were envious or skeptical. Princess Lyra awaited him in the palace courtyard, her expression a mixture of curiosity and restraint. The mockery that had defined their first encounter was gone, replaced by a quiet, calculating interest. She had witnessed his intelligence, his courage, and his compassion, not just toward the veil's creatures, but also toward the challenges themselves. And she had noticed how he had adapted, learning quickly from each encounter. "Captain Vale," she said, her tone carefully measured, "you have survived the veil. Few could claim such a feat." Her eyes, sharp as ever, studied him closely. Yet survival alone does not show a being's full worth. There are other forms of strength of mind, strength of diplomacy, and the ability to inspire trust. We shall see if you possess them as well. Ethan bowed slightly, sensing that the next challenge would not be physical. I understand, Princess. I am ready to face any trial you consider necessary. Lyra's smile was faint, almost imperceptible. Very well. The court has much to say about a human who walks unscathed through the veil. Some wish to test your wit and resolve. You will meet with the Council of Elders and you will demonstrate your ability to navigate matters of strategy, negotiation, and reasoning. Consider it a trial of intellect and character. The council chambers were immense, filled with towering crystal pillars and soft glowing lights that shifted with the presence of those within. The Council of Elders consisted of the wisest and most experienced members of Xylaris. They were observers and advisors, not rulers, but their influence on court decisions was significant. As Ethan entered, he felt the weight of their scrutiny. Every movement, every word would be measured. One elder, a tall figure with multiple arms and eyes that seemed to see in all directions, spoke first. Human, you have survived a trial that has defeated many of our best. But survival alone does not prove wisdom. We will pose challenges that test your understanding of diplomacy, ethics, and strategy. Fail, and the consequences may affect your standing with the royal court. Ethan nodded, maintaining calm and composure. He had faced life-or-death situations in the Veil, and this challenge, though different, required the same qualities: observation, logic, and adaptability. The first scenario involved negotiation with a neighboring alien species. The council presented a simulated conflict, trade routes disrupted, resources scarce, and tensions rising. Ethan analyzed the situation quickly, asking questions to clarify the positions and needs of each party. He proposed solutions that balanced fairness, resource distribution, and long-term stability, demonstrating not only strategic thinking, but also empathy, understanding the perspectives of all involved. The elders exchanged glances, some nodding, others frowning in thought. Impressive, one said finally. You understand that strength is not always force. Intelligence and empathy can be more effective than raw power. Next came a challenge of ethics. A simulation presented him with two choices: save a group of weaker creatures from a dangerous situation, or prioritize a mission objective that benefited the city but put the creatures at risk. Ethan chose to prioritize life, reasoning that true leadership involved protecting those who could not protect themselves. He explained his reasoning clearly, demonstrating moral strength alongside practical judgment. The council murmured among themselves. Some were surprised. Humans were known for their ingenuity, but moral reasoning was less familiar to them. Ethan's decisions revealed not only human intelligence but also humanity's capacity for compassion, a trait the Xylari highly valued. Finally, the council presented a subtle test of political acumen. They staged a scenario in which factions within the court sought to manipulate him, spreading misinformation and testing his ability to discern truth from deception. Ethan remained observant, asking careful questions, verifying facts, and making logical decisions based on evidence rather than emotion. By the end, he had earned the respect of most elders who recognized his ability to navigate complex social and political environments with clarity and integrity. Throughout these trials, Lyra observed silently. Her initial amusement had completely vanished, replaced by genuine curiosity and admiration. She had challenged him, expecting to see fear or failure, yet he had displayed courage, intelligence, and compassion. He had not relied on force nor on luck. He had relied on thought, observation, and principle. When the final simulation ended, the eldest of the council rose. Captain Vale, your performance has proven remarkable. You have shown intelligence, foresight, and moral integrity. These are qualities rare among visitors to our world. You have earned the respect of the council, and by extension, a place within the history of Xylaris. The court erupted in whispers and murmurs. Some were amazed, others reluctant, but impressed. Ethan's heart raced, not with pride, but with awareness that the Veil and the council had tested his limits. He had survived, learned, and proven that humans were capable of remarkable feats when challenged by adversity. Lyra stepped forward, her posture regal and controlled. "Captain Vale," she said, her voice carrying across the chamber. "You have faced not only the Vale but also the challenges of our court. You have demonstrated intelligence, courage, and compassion. Few beings, human or Xylari, could achieve what you have. You have earned my respect, and I expect the rest of the court to acknowledge it as well." The words were simple, yet powerful. For the first time, she addressed him without mockery, without teasing. She recognized his worth on equal terms, not as a novelty or a joke, but as a peer. Ethan nodded in gratitude, understanding the depth of her recognition. Respect, he knew, was earned, not given. And here, he had earned it. Yet the court was not, without intrigue. A few factions remained skeptical, envious of Ethan's rapid rise in respect. Whispers circulated of human cunning, of potential threats, and of alliances shifting within the palace. Ethan recognized the subtlety of these tensions. The Veil had prepared him for physical challenges. The Council had prepared him for intellectual ones. Now he faced the delicate art of navigating court politics, an environment where missteps could be costly. Ethan approached the situation carefully, observing behaviors, listening to conversations, and weighing decisions. He relied on principles, rather than emotion, intelligence rather than manipulation, and fairness rather than favoritism. Slowly, he began to earn the trust of skeptical nobles, showing that humans could act with integrity and foresight. Even those who had doubted him began to see his value, not as a novelty but as a competent and principled presence in their midst. By the evening, Ethan had earned not only the council's respect, but also the cautious trust of most court members. Princess Lyra, watching from her chambers, allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible smile. The mockery that had opened their encounter was gone. In its place was admiration, not just for his survival of the Veil, but for his ability to think clearly, act justly, and navigate challenges beyond mere survival. Lyra reflected on her own assumptions. She had underestimated humans, assuming that size and strength determined worth. Ethan had proven her wrong. Humans, she realized, could possess qualities that rivaled or exceeded her own people's expectations: intelligence, resilience, and, most importantly, a moral compass that guided actions even in the face of danger. As the night settled over Lumeria, Ethan walked through the quiet halls of the palace, reflecting on the day's events. He had faced danger, challenge, and scrutiny, and he had prevailed. The court had tested him not with predators or storms, but with intellect, ethics, and diplomacy. And just as in the Veil, he had relied on observation, reasoning, and compassion to succeed. Lumo padded silently beside him, their bond growing stronger with each passing challenge. The small creature had guided him through the Veil, and now it had become a companion in understanding this complex alien society. Together, they had adapted, survived, and earned respect. Princess Lyra watched from her balcony as Ethan passed below, noting the quiet confidence in his stride. She had expected arrogance or weakness, but instead found courage, intelligence, and unwavering composure. Perhaps she thought humans were not the fragile beings she had mocked, but a species capable of remarkable feats when faced with the impossible. The night was calm, but Ethan knew more challenges lay ahead. The Veil had tested his body and instincts, the Council had tested his mind and morality. And now, the subtle currents of court intrigue demanded vigilance, patience, and insight. Yet he felt ready. He had faced dangers greater than most would ever encounter, adapted and learned. Humanity's strength was not in size or power, but in resilience, intelligence, and heart. And as the palace lights glowed softly under the twin moons, Princess Lyra allowed herself one thought. The human had earned her respect and perhaps in time, her trust. See, Compa. The twin suns of Xylaris hung low in the sky, casting golden light over the royal city of Lumeria. After surviving the Shadow Veil and navigating the intricate challenges of the court, Captain Ethan Vale felt both exhaustion and determination. He had proven himself physically, mentally, and morally. But as he now learned, his greatest test was yet to come. A trial that would not only demand every skill he had, but also the ability to work alongside others, including Princess Lyra herself. Sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Ethan and Lyra, summoned immediately, saw a vision on the crystal display. A massive seismic disturbance in the city's outer districts. Buildings trembled, energy fields fluctuated, and civilians scrambled in panic. The city itself was in danger. This was no test from the court. This was real. The Veil had prepared him for survival in nature, the council had tested his mind, and now the city itself required courage, intelligence, and leadership. Lyra turned to Ethan, her expression sharp but serious. "This is unlike anything you have faced before, human. We must act swiftly or lives will be lost. Are you prepared to lead with me?" Ethan nodded, his confidence steady. "I am ready, Princess. Together we will find a solution." The duo moved quickly through the city, assessing the situation. The tremors were creating fissures in the streets, and several districts were at risk of collapse. Civilians were panicking, alien creatures unfamiliar with such events scattered in every direction, and energy conduits, the lifeblood of Lumeria's infrastructure, were beginning to fail. Ethan's mind worked swiftly. He issued instructions prioritizing evacuation routes, stabilizing structures with portable energy barriers, and using his multi-tool to repair critical energy nodes. Lumo darted ahead, alerting them to unstable areas and dangerous terrain, proving invaluable once again. Lyra coordinated with palace guards and engineers, deploying resources efficiently and ensuring communication across the city. Ethan observed her leadership, noting her precision and command while he focused on problem-solving and quick adaptation. Their combined efforts began to create order out of chaos. A particularly dangerous section of the city was near the central energy hub. Without stabilization, the collapse of this hub could trigger a chain reaction, destroying entire districts. Ethan assessed the area quickly. The energy conduits were damaged, but using knowledge he had gained from studying Xylaris technology. During his stay, he devised a plan to reroute the energy flow through temporary channels, preventing overload. Lyra looked at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "You understand our technology better than I expected," she said, her voice calm despite the chaos. Ethan smiled faintly. "Observation, learning, and logic. It's how humans adapt." Working together, they climbed to the energy hub. Sparks flew as they connected temporary conduits, balancing energy flows carefully. Every second counted. With precision and patience, they completed the rerouting, stabilizing the hub just as another tremor shook the city. The system held, and panic eased slightly as the citizens saw signs of order returning. The night was far from over. Another tremor struck near the residential district. Buildings swayed dangerously and alien creatures fled into the streets. Ethan quickly calculated the safest evacuation routes, coordinating with Lyra and the palace guards. Using light-emitting devices and signals, they guided residents away from danger. Civilians followed, trusting their calm and decisive leadership. At one point, a building partially collapsed near a group of trapped civilians. Ethan did not hesitate. Using a combination of alien tools and human ingenuity, he stabilized the structure temporarily, allowing the civilians to escape safely. Lumo, glowing brightly, guided them through hidden exits, proving once again that cooperation and empathy could overcome even the deadliest situations. Hours passed in this relentless struggle. Ethan and Lyra moved tirelessly, coordinating, adapting, and problem-solving in real time. The city tremors gradually subsided, giving them brief moments to catch their breath. Both were exhausted, but neither allowed fatigue to slow them. Their shared goal, saving lives, kept them focused. Finally, as the first light of dawn broke across the horizon, the city stood largely intact. Damage had occurred, but the disaster had been managed. Civilians began to emerge from shelters, looking around in awe and relief. The coordinated efforts of humans and Xylari had prevented a catastrophe. Ethan and Lyra stood on a balcony overlooking the city. For the first time, there was no tension, no challenge, no mockery, only respect and understanding. Lyra's eyes softened as she regarded him. "Captain Vale," she said, her voice steady, "you have not only survived the Veil and the court's trials, but you have also saved my people. Your courage, intelligence, and compassion have proven that humans are more remarkable than I could have imagined." Ethan nodded, feeling a quiet pride. "I have learned much from this world, Princess. And I have seen that true strength comes not from size or power, but from courage, intelligence, and working together." Lumo patted at Ethan's side, glowing softly in the morning light. The small creature had been a guide, an ally, and a reminder that even in the harshest circumstances, empathy and cooperation could create bonds that mattered as much as skill or strength. Lyra extended her hand, not as a mockery, not as a test, but in acknowledgement. "You have earned my respect, Captain. Not as a visitor, not as a novelty, but as an equal, a being of remarkable courage and heart." Ethan shook her hand, understanding the significance. The journey had begun as a challenge of survival, but it had become something far greater. He had earned the respect of an entire civilization, not through dominance or arrogance, but through intellect, perseverance, and compassion. The citizens of Lumeria, witnessing the calm and coordinated leadership displayed by Ethan and Lyra, began to recognize the value of cooperation across species. Whispers of admiration spread quickly, not just for the human who survived the Veil, but for the alliance he and Lyra represented. Trust, once tentative, now began to form. Lyra turned to Ethan, a faint smile on her face. "You have done more than survive, Captain. You have shown what humanity is capable of. Perhaps we have judged your kind too hastily in the past." Ethan looked at her with quiet determination. "Every species has strengths. Humans endure and adapt. We survive not by brute force alone, but by thinking, learning, and caring." The princess nodded thoughtfully. "Then let us ensure that the lessons learned here are not forgotten. Together, we can build a stronger alliance, one based on respect, intelligence, and courage." As the city settled into a calm after the storm, Ethan and Lyra walked through the palace gardens, reflecting on the journey that had begun with mockery and a challenge in the Shadow Veil. From danger, they had forged mutual respect. From trials, they had discovered the value of cooperation, intelligence, and moral courage. And from a human and an alien princess, an alliance was born, one that promised hope, growth, and understanding for both their worlds. Ethan looked toward the horizon, where the Veil lay in the distance. He had survived its dangers, faced the challenges of the court, and helped save a city. His journey had tested his body, mind, and spirit, but it had also revealed the true potential of humanity. Lyra observed him, seeing not just a human who had survived incredible trials, but a being who had taught her valuable lessons about courage, intelligence, and empathy. She had begun with mockery, expecting failure. Instead, she had found respect, partnership, and hope for the future. The citizens of Lumeria began to rebuild, guided by leaders who understood that survival and success were not about strength alone, but about wisdom, collaboration, and moral courage. The Veil and its challenges were no longer symbols of fear, but reminders of resilience, intelligence, and the bonds that could be forged across worlds. Ethan and Lyra stood together on the palace balcony, looking out at the recovering city. "Captain Vale," Lyra said softly, "your journey has ended, but the lessons you bring will last far longer than any challenge." Ethan smiled, glancing at Lumo, who glowed faintly beside him. "It is only the beginning, Princess. There is much to learn, much to explore, and much to build. Together we can achieve more than either of our worlds could alone." Lyra's eyes shone with understanding. "Then let this be a new beginning, not just for us, but for humanity and Xylaris alike." And so on the glowing world of Xylaris, a small human had proven that courage, intelligence, and compassion could overcome the impossible. A princess had learned that mockery could turn into admiration, challenge into respect, and fear into trust. From this journey, a bond was forged, an alliance was born, and a story of human perseverance and potential shone brightly across the stars. The night had tested him, the court had challenged him, and the city had relied on him. Ethan Vale had survived, not just the Shadow Vale, but the trials of intelligence, empathy, and leadership. He had proven the worth of humanity, and in doing so, had earned a place of respect on a distant world, forever remembered as the human who survived. The knight and won not only respect but the admiration of an alien princess.